Welcome to Billion Dollar Startup, where we bring you visionaries and disruptors who have started, scaled, sold, or invested in a billion-dollar startup, also known as a unicorn. We also feature tech founders who are building the next billion-dollar startup. Billion Dollar Startup is a unique podcast sponsored by DragonX Capital, the venture capital firm that concentrates on seed and early-stage tech companies with the X factor.
Welcome to another episode of the Billion Dollar Startup. Today we are going to talk about the 5 keys to evaluating a tech company. How do we know we are not getting in at too high of a valuation? We're getting the right time at the right valuation. We're going to go through some steps. Now, there are a lot of approaches. It could be like an income-based approach, asset-based approach, which we know it's all nonsense. Like, talk to us, why is that? We're going to piss off some people today, I think.
Valuations of tech companies are extremely dynamic. It's never static, and it's very, very stage-based. So depending on the stage of the company. So let's go through one by one. Yes. First and foremost, the first question you're asking is, what's the stage of the company? If it's pre-seed, seed, very, very early. Generally speaking, these types of pre-revenue companies are almost always based on either a convertible note or a safe note. A convertible note is a debt instrument that converts into a next round at a discount, which means we're kicking the valuation question down the road. That means I'm going to give you a check for $500,000 million, and I'm going to convert into the next round when that investor comes in at a 20% discount. And usually it's within a 24-month period. Sometimes there's interest associated with it, so I'm earning like 7% interest per year on it.
Because we don't know, we cannot value something that has no revenue. We
Correct.
Don't know it yet.
And that's a very entrepreneur-friendly way of doing it because it allows the entrepreneur to actually build a company and it kicks the can down the road. Essentially, what you're going to be looking at is what is the growth rate of the company, what is the quality of the revenues, what is the market they're going after, the quality of the team, is it the first time? And obviously you're looking at where this company is going to be in 24 months, in other words, the next round. And then the question is, what is the current burn, and then what is the size of the round? So let me break it down. The company right now is doing $1 million and is burning $250,000 a month, and they want to do, let's say, a small A round or a seed extension, whatever the case may be. The question is, what's the size of the round? And therefore, you have to work it backwards. So the question we ask is, where do you want it to be in the next 18 to 24 months? And work it backwards to see with the current burn ratio, assuming no material increase in the revenues, how much capital you're gonna need to get there. Yes. That size of the round helps determine the pre-money valuation of the round. Because generally speaking, any round that you take should be somewhere between 20 to 35% dilution for that particular round. So we work it backwards in those terms, and it has to do with stage and, again, the quality of the team and everything else that we discussed. There's very specific guidelines that everybody tends to follow. And again, it has to do with the burn, the size of the round. So then the next question is, if they raise this capital, this round, do they have the ample runway to get to the next round? And typically, these rounds should carry the company for at least 18 to 24 months. That gives them a safe runway to demonstrate the progress so that within the next year, they can begin the fundraising for their next round. So again, you can look at the churn, look at the size of the round, and the runway it promises. And then we're gonna look at that moment in time when they get to that next round, what is that round going to look like? Because if you're going from seed and Series A to, for example, a growth round, those tend to be bigger rounds. Do they have enough time to get there? Because if they end up in a situation where they need another extension or another period of capital before they get to the next round, then you as the investor will be further diluted. And that obviously is not going to be the best case scenario for you. So those are the guidelines to look at it. But again, I would stay away from...
It's not so black and white.
It is never black and white. Yeah. But I do stay away from the outliers, the people especially...
Well, everybody thinks they're outliers.
Everybody, but here's the most important thing to know when it comes to valuation. If an entrepreneur insisting that they want the high valuation, you do not want that entrepreneur. You don't want that investment because they're showing a lack of judgment, and here is why. If the valuation, let's say in the A round, is too high, what happens is if they don't perform extraordinarily well in a very short period of time, and they need to raise capital again, it's going to be either a flat round or a down round. And that, for a lot of investors, they know. So they have to grow into that valuation, which is really bad for the current investor. We don't look at down rounds or flat rounds because it shows poor judgment
from the
on
entrepreneurs.
the side of the team. Because if they're so focused on valuation and dilution,
They're not focusing on
they're
growing
not
the company.
focused on creating value
Yeah.
and who are the right partners to help them achieve their vision and get to where they want to be.
Yeah.
It's all about alignment and being reasonable, and that's the way it should be.
Until next time, happy unicorn
unicorn
hunting.
hunting.
We appreciate you joining us for this episode of Billion Dollar Startup. Be sure to rate, review, and subscribe to the show. And visit DragonX.com for more resources based on today's topic, as well as for access to previous episodes. That's DragonX.com. Thank you for listening.